Welcome back to The Pulse. Now, the governing New Patriotic Party, NPP, is this afternoon ramping pressure on the Electoral Commission to recollect results in some constituencies, despite official declaration favoring the opposition National Democratic Congress, the NDC, in some of those areas. The NPP claims it has concrete evidence, including its own collated figures and supporting pink sheets, showing their candidates as the rightful winners in these constituencies. At a press conference held earlier today, the NPP demanded immediate action to recollect the results in question. My colleague Ken Jesse was there earlier and is bringing us the details of everything that you may have missed out. Ken, how was it? But I mean, are they asking that all 12, how many constituencies particularly? 12, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There could be more though.
It could be?
There probably could be.
Okay.
Subsequently, they will subsequently address the press on these matters, so there probably could be more.
Okay, and what exactly are they asking for? They're asking that all these 12 constituencies be recollated?
No, that's not what they're asking. So basically, some of them, they want them recollated, and with some, they want collation to continue. So they've cited 12 constituencies, as we've talked about earlier. They say that with some of them, all the polling stations were not available before they were declared. They've also cited an instance in Tema Central where a different presiding officer from a different constituency was called in to come and declare the results, which they say should not have been so. And according to them, per their own collated results, they believe that in all of these constituencies, they are the ones that are leading and should be declared winners. And I want to run you through a few of the constituencies they've mentioned. They've mentioned Ablekuma North, Tema Central, Okaikwe North, Dome Kwabenya, Ahafuano North, Obuasi East, Ahafuano Southeast, Insawem Adwedri, Techiman South, our Wayne constituency. And a very peculiar case happened in Obuasi East, according to them. They said that when the results were done, the NPP candidate was the one that was the leading, or the one that had won, that was supposed to be declared winner. But at the end of the day, there was a swap. So they swapped the results of the NPP candidate with that of the NDC candidate.
Okay. To
declare the wrongful or the wrong candidate as the winner of that constituency. They've also cited. And
does the EC agree that it was a wrong declaration?
Well, we're yet to hear from the Electoral Commission on some of these allegations, but this press was addressed by leading figures in the party. That's Peter McMenu, and then Majority Leader in Parliament, Alexander Afenyo-Markin. And in other constituencies, they've cited that there are some pink sheets that were not ready, and that some NDC quote-unquote hooligans, I'm using their words, disrupted proceedings, and then where they had collated to, it was not the full results that could declare the NDC a candidate winner, but they went on and did those declarations. So these two men in the party who addressed the press earlier today say they've won in all of those constituencies. All of those constituencies, those that are in contention, those that have already been declared for the NDC.
Right. I know that you put a detailed report together. Did you not?
I did.
All right. Let's watch Ken's report.
Electoral materials, particularly pink sheets, computers, and ballot papers, as well as properties of the TEPA SHS, including louver blades, benches, and tables. They also manhandled NPP representatives and EC officials. These violent conducts by the NDC tax, who had overpowered the police, prompted the intervention of the military to save lives and property. The NDC hoodlums did not only attack the collation center, but they also proceeded to launch an attack at the residence of the NPP parliamentary candidate, Honorable Eric Nana Agyeman-Prempeh, bent his vehicle and attacked his warehouse, stole his items, and attacked his radio station. There are video footages in wide circulations that captured all these attacks. These issues have since been reported to the Ghana police, and an arrest warrant has been issued. The videos are there, and we will give you copies of it. The question many will ask is, since when has it become an offense to contest a parliamentary elections in this country? Why is the NDC bent on thwarting all our democratic gains. Ghana has made a lot of gains. Instead of consolidating it, they are thwarting it. They are throwing it away. Let's go to the sixth one, Obuasi East. That's also in Ashanti. After collecting the polling stations results from all the 115 polling stations, the NPP parliamentary candidate obtained 18,558 votes, as against NDC's 18,539. Strangely, the returning officer, the police, and the NPP candidate, at the threat of their lives, succumbed to the unlawful demands of the NDC hoodlums, who had besieged the collation center and took charge of the constituency collation process to swap the election results. And we have that. Is that ready to show them? They swapped the results that I have mentioned and then announced that. Okay, they gave them APP's candidates to that of the NDC. The Obuasi East, they just cancelled.
They just cancelled.
They cancelled the first one, which we have the data and reverse and I mean, what is this? They swapped the results in favor of the NDC.
And then locked the candidate and asked him to sign or he dies. Or he prefers dying or going to Parliament. So he should sign.
Number 7, Ahafo Southwest, also in Ashanti. Results from all the 103 polling stations indicate that the NPP's candidate, Elvis Osei Mensah Dapa, obtained 16,058 votes, as against NDC's candidate, who polled 15,372 votes. As usual, the NDC hoodlums attacked the collation center and in the process killed one of our supporters. We have all our pink sheets intact, and that shows clearly that the NPP parliamentary candidate won the parliamentary elections by 686 votes margin. 686 votes margin. The EC invited the parties to its regional collation center on Monday, 9 December 2024 at 10 a.m. The EC collected all the results from all the 103 polling stations, filled the Form 1C as well as the Form 1D, but due to threat on his life, he opted not to declare the final results. So this is the situation at Ahafo Southwest. Now we go to Bono East, number 8, Techima South constituency. Collation from 279 out of a total of 282 polling stations indicate clearly that Honorable Martin Kwaku Ajay Mensah Kosa, the NPP parliamentary candidate, obtained 46,468 votes, as against NDC's Christopher Bayari, who polled 43,365 votes. Two other candidates in the parliamentary elections obtained 225 votes. The constituency collation was disrupted by NDC elements and has since not resumed.
So we want to place some emphasis.
All right. The next one is Eastern Region and Sawam Adwaji. Data from all the 202 polling stations show that the incumbent MP, Honorable Anodompre, has won the parliamentary elections. The EC's collation at the Constituency Collation Center was disrupted by the NDC.
Well, so that is the presser by the NPP earlier today. Let's bring in the NPP's Director for Elections, Mr. Evans Nimako, to take us through the specific constituencies and what's the way forward for the NPP. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us, Mr. Nimako. And I'm sure you're definitely aware that it's 12 constituencies that you're contesting. Are you going to court?
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon for having me. I think for us as New Patriotic Party, we've made the issue clear to the public. And I'm happy that your reporter was at the NPP headquarters and covered the whole story. We've given to the good people of Ghana the story as it is across all these constituencies. But just to let you know that of the 4 constituencies in Eastern Region, 3 were done. Akwetia, Suhum, Fantiakwa North. We were left with Soma Dwedri, but our colleagues from the NDC decided to pull the brakes, and the EC also decided that they would take some time to address the issue. Now, when you've gone through issues like this, you need to make sure that it is the law as it is. You need to look at the CI 127, Regulation 43 properly and appreciate it better. And if you do, you will not have any issue about the request coming from the New Patriotic Party. For election at the parliamentary level to be conclusive, the returning officer, who is the designated officer, must issue out the Form 1C, which is the collation sheet for all the polling stations, the Form 1D, which is the summary sheet, as well as the Form 1B, which is the rate that the commission will depend to get the results. We've had their stories. Your people were there in these collation centers, the police was there, and the EC. To the extent that people's lives were at stake, they needed to say, yes, so be it. But they have come to tell us that in the case of Tema Central, Ablekuma North, Okankwe Central, Domeko Abinya, Obuase East, Ahafano North, Ahafano Southwest, and Sauma Dweji, all these places were inconclusive because the returning officers were one or the other, had threats of their lives. And isn't it strange that you go through elections that the presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party openly says that, for me, looking at what my party has done, I accept the outcome that the EC will announce and makes the presidential elections conclusive. In the case of the parliamentary, until a returning officer issues the Form 1C, 1D, and 1B, it is inconclusive. But why are we in this stage? Our colleagues from the NDC knows perfectly well that these are constituencies they've lost, and they will not allow us to have conclusive arrangement for this parliamentary seat.
Well, Mr.
Very unfortunate.
Well,
But
Mr.
we
Nyako,
accepted.
how do we reconcile this regulation with the EC's own regulation that once there's a declaration, you cannot call for a re-collation? You'd have to now seek a redress in court. How do we then reconcile these two?
You need to get it right. You need to get it right. You need to look at CI 127 Regulation 43. That says that, yes, the EC at the collation center must have the parliamentary candidate or his or her agent. They must get for you the Form 1C, which is the collation of all pink sheets from all the polling stations in the constituency. When that is done, the returning officer must issue to candidate Form 1C, D, which is the summary of it, and then a rate is issued. Let me tell you, this is a process. It's not just saying you have won. But if you are the collation center and your life is at risk, and you've seen the videos from Ablekuma North, Tema Central, Domeko Abinya, Ahafano North, Ahafano Southwest, you can sit in Accra and query the issue. But I can assure you, if you knew how the NDC discharged their men to create confusion at these collation centers, you will not ask whether there was conclusion in this whole exercise or not. For us, as New Patriotic Party, these parliamentary elections are not conclusive. It therefore calls for a GC to end the process by going through the exercise, ensure that all polling station results in this polling station, in these constituencies, are put together and then are collated. Then the returning officer will issue the Form 1B, Form 1D, as well as Form 1C. That will bring to conclusion parliamentary elections in all these constituencies. It is after the EC has gazetted results of parliamentary elections that an interested party may consider issue of going to court. So please, those who do not understand and don't want to understand, they are at liberty. But for us as New Patriotic Party, we should just allow the CI 127 to operate. This afternoon, the IGP engaged the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress. I think the discussion we had, very constructive one, and the NDC appreciate that they must allow the EC to go through this exercise. Well,
Mr. Nwaku, I know that you have to go, but kindly hang in there for just a minute for me, because we've got the NDC, who is also a party to this issue, joining us in studio, represented by the popular Dr. Tanko. You've heard what Mr. Evans Namaku has said. You also followed exactly what the presser also said, and the concerns raised about these 12 constituencies. What's your initial reactions?
That their press conference should be dismissed with the contempt it deserves.
Why?
Completely. You shouldn't have covered it.
Why not?
It's a complete waste of time.
And they have grievances and
what
they have
grievances?
Issues with the...
Let me tell you, they don't have grievances. You see, we should live by principles in this country. This is not the first time we are conducting elections.
Not just principles, but laws as well.
Yes, the principles might follow. This is a political party that oversaw an election of 2020 in Techima South. The one you were reading for my good friend to respond to, the letter, that was a response to us. When we asked for re-collation of Techima South constituency results in 2020, you know what happened at Techima South? They shot, state security shot and killed people at a collation center. Vandalize the place.
Mr. Tanko, I know that when there is a precedent in law, and there's a matter in court, usually the court will definitely look at the law, and then support it with the precedent. Beautiful. They don't go past the law before going to the precedent.
So that's why I'm saying that what they are doing, they have constituted themselves as judges and determining the law.
No, he has just giving us clarity.
I'm giving you clarity because it's the same precedents he's talking of. He's saying that vandalism happened, people were threatened, they were forced to do declarations. What happened in Techima South?
If the matter goes to, if these results are gazetted by the Electoral Commission, and then they want to take the matter up to court, the issue of electoral crimes will then be separated to how valid some ballot or how valid the re-collation was. I'm sure you agree to this.
I'm saying that if you allow me to flow, you'll understand where I'm coming from. The question is simple. They are challenging the validity of the declarations. Is that not what they are saying?
Yes.
And they are impugning some kind of, that it was done under duress and people were being attacked, vandalized the place. And I'm saying that the vandalism that was being perpetrated by the state itself led to the declaration of Techima South in 2020. We asked for re-collation because we thought that re-collation was not properly done. Jean Mensah wrote back to us, telling us that as soon as a declaration is made, they cannot do any re-collation. And therefore, if you have any issues, you know where to send your problems to. That was her response. Tell me, the declarations, were they made by the police? Those declarations they are challenging. The declarations were made by officials appointed by the Electoral Commission. It doesn't lie in the mouth of NPP or Madam Jean Mensah and her commissioners to describe duress. They cannot define it. They are not lawyers. They are not judges. They are not judges to define duress or an environment that is not conducive for this. It is the power of the judge to look at the evidence that you are talking of. Gather the evidence and see whether actually the declaration was made under duress. Not press conference or Madam Jean Mensah sitting there and saying that that declaration was not fully in due process. This is a due process. Regulation 43 of CI 127. I'm holding it here. They will read it when it suits them. When we met the IGP, I thought he was going to mention that one. Look at what the regulation says. 43.1. Subject to regulation 42. Immediately after the results of the poll for all the polling stations in the constituency, listen, the law, when they say in the constituency, it means it's emphatic. It's referring to a particular place. Of the returning officer have been given to the returning officer shall, in the presence of the candidates or representatives of the candidate, or not more than 2 counting agents appointed by each candidate, A, assemble the results from the polling stations without recounting, and the ballots in the ballot box, except where there is a challenge by a candidate or a counting agent in respect of a specific box. B, fill the parliamentary election results summary sheet as set out in Form 1D of the schedule. Give public notice of the total number of votes cast for each candidate. Publicly declare as elected in a parliamentary election the candidate who had the highest votes. Tell me, all these 12 constituencies, was that not happening?
Mrs. Tanko, we shall go back to that provision that you have just read, and then I'll take you, just hold on for me. We're going back to Parliament. There's something happening in Parliament. Let's take you back to Parliament.
That whatever is contained in the report constitute proposals to us as a House to accept or reject. The proposals were made. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, you drew attention to the fact that, given the time at our disposal, we will not be able realistically to cover all the items that are being proposed. And you suggested that we prioritize certain items. Members raised issues, rejected some items.
Well, we've got parliamentary correspondent Go Asante on phone to give us details of what's happening in Parliament. Kweku, what's happening?
Hello, can you come again?
What's happening in Parliament now?
Well, MPs have been haggling over what exactly the House.
And if we vote against it,
particular, the majority side are seeking to get some
Kweku, if you can talk a bit louder.
Just some ships for the Ghana Navy. The NDC MP say they are not going to accept all of that. They are not going to deal with that because they believe that these are businesses that must be left for the new John Dramani Mahama government to deal with in January of next year. And so that is the business they say they are going to take when it comes to some of those issues. And so you hear Mahama Yard go on the floor now arguing that, listen, if the NPP side insist the business paper as it is currently will be rejected, which will not bother well for the House because they want only to deal with the budget, the mini budget for next year, and then some specifics of all those issues. So let's get to the floor and see how some of those things that are being discussed.
Of the report, then they vote.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, let me make this important point. Then we can draw the curtain on this matter. Mr. Speaker, the practice in a parliament is for government business to be tabled on the floor, views expressed, and a vote taken. Mr. Speaker, these items have been business of government since some have been on the business state or border paper since 2022. Some have been on the order paper since May. Mr. Speaker, what is their problem? If you say you are opposed to it, so be it. Let us come with the motion. You have your 137. Your 137 will say no. Our 138, if we have it, we vote for it. Two, Mr. Speaker, on the judges, the committee is done with its report. You participated. The report is supposed to be laid. If you are against it, that is your principled position. But you cannot say that government business, because you merely disagree, we should not list it on the order paper, or that it should not be a matter for business committee to consider. We will be setting a bad precedent for democracy. We will be setting a bad precedent for democracy where members will say that because they disagree, they will vote against a business statement. To say that we agree for this item to be on the business statement, we don't agree for this. What you do is to wait to express your opinion. And when you express your opinion, if at the end of the day your opinion carries the day, so be it. But Mr. Speaker, what they are introducing is very unknown to our democracy. Very unknown. And I will not accept that. We should not set a bad precedent because...
Honorable Majority Leader,
yes,
please resume your seat.
Thank you.
We have been confronted with these things before. It's not the first time. Go and read the Hansard of 2000. You will come across a similar challenge that faced the House. That time, I was chairman of the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. His Excellency the President was the ranking member. Go and read it. The same issue of nomination of judges to the Supreme Court came up. And there was serious objection by the minority then. And the then government had to drop those nominees. Go and read the Hansard. And the reason that were adduced, led by His Excellency the President at that time, they are there. So don't create the impression that this is the first time such a challenge is facing the House. If there's a need for us to improve upon it, and I believe there's always a need to improve on these things, okay, let's say so, and let's go on it. But I gave you a reason that these matters are so important that we need time to consider them well. If you wanted to always sit till midnight or the next day, I'm available. Luckily, I'm very healthy now. You know, I can sit through. Be prepared. But let's do a good job to make sure that the decisions we take will be to the benefit of Ghana and Ghanaians. That's most important. Not just rush through them and then maybe further aggravate the economic or social situation in the country. That's my worry. We have spent the whole day today not doing much. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. But I'll put the question. If I put the question as you have requested, I'm trying to look at your numbers. Because sometimes I have to save you from embarrassment. I have to look at your numbers and look at their numbers to see whether you are likely to win or lose. You are to adopt the business statement. I have to put the question. To adopt. Yes, go on. We should check the rules.
The Speaker.
Yes.
The Speaker, the business committee report has been submitted, and issues have been raised. Some issues have been raised. Some of them legitimate with respect to the time available to the House for doing justice to some of these matters. On the other hand, Speaker, the matter being raised by the majority leader is also legitimate in the sense that if a paper is to be presented to the House and a decision is taken that no, will not allow you to introduce the paper to the House, it means that technically you are saying that you don't allow government business to come to the House. And that will be a dangerous precedent, I mean technically. Also, for the Speaker, you're giving a very useful guidance as to going forward what should be done. The Speaker, it is useful. However, we must also be careful. Is it the case that a speaker would say that I will allow this government business, I will not allow this government business? So even though I see a lot of sense in what the speaker is doing, we must also look at the technical implications. I think that we have these matters before us. Admittedly, it's not everything that we can deal with. So we adopt the report and we consider those matters that have come before us. We get to first reading is just rising and bowing, but we can't transact business on it. Like the second reading and so on and so forth. Because when you do the first reading, you now have to refer the matter to the appropriate committee to go and consider and report to the House. Do we have the luxury of time? We may not have that luxury of time, which then goes to what direction the Speaker is giving us. That let's look at all these implications. So we become very pragmatic in the consideration of these matters. So I'm saying that time certainly will not allow us to deal with all these before us. I agree. But when it is advertised for a paper to be presented and the indication is that no, we will not allow this paper to be presented, that also has its own connotation, which in my view will not be good for the image of the House. But we must be pragmatic. What can we deal with? What can we not deal with? The Speaker has offered some suggestions. Going forward, we look at what to do, what we can do, and what we cannot do. As simple as that. Which is why the leader is saying that, okay, let's adopt the report. However, we must take into consideration the various suggestions that come from the floor, that have come from the floor. Then we move on. That is my consideration of the matter.
Yes, Honorable Area.
Speaker, Mr. Speaker, it is already known to us in this House that this meeting took place without the participation of our leader. That became obvious when Honorable Ahmed took the floor. He indicated that our side did not participate because they were misled regarding the timing of the meeting. This is a very serious matter. And you have given further guidance. Indeed, I think that the proper thing.
Well, you've been watching the parliamentary proceedings that's still happening, with both sides not agreeing to the business of the day that was tendered in by the NPP side in Parliament today. But let's take you to the Wejagbawe constituency, where NDC supporters mass up at EC Greater Accra Regional Office demanding the declaration of their candidate as winner of the 2024 parliamentary election. And my colleague James Aveji is there and is joining us live. James, what's happening?
Immediately after.
Well, MFA, let me kindly just inform you that the parliamentary candidate for the NDC for Wejagbawe is currently speaking. Let's listen to him and then I'll bring you up to the election director actually for that constituency. And then when we're done with him, I'll tell you what has been happening here in the last few hours.
Office on Wednesday in the night at around 8 p.m. And this is what we chanced upon. This is not hearsay. The EC lady herself confessed that they were making entries. They were putting in totals. As to what they were putting in and why they were putting it in 4 clear days after, nobody knows. But that is an act of criminality. And by that act of criminality, we, by a layman's knowledge, know that the election result declared, so-called declaration, is null and void. If you apply for a school with a fake certificate and the school realizes that your certificate is fake and they revoke that certificate, what have they done to your admission? Your admission is revoked because the basis of your admission is wrong. And that is what has happened in the election in the Wejagbawe constituency, the parliamentary election. Now, we met with the regional director of the Electoral Commission and put this across to her. We did that verbally and put that on paper to her. For the EC to come out and tell us the steps that they are taking to address this, she has refused to. We agreed with her in the meeting on Friday that we'll be here on Monday for response. From 10 a.m. till now, she has refused to see us.
Have you heard from her?
The information that she passed on through the regional police commander was that the message has been, the letter has been forwarded to the commissioners and they are awaiting response. If this is the feedback she has, what stops her from coming to tell us? And for hours, we're trying to call her on phone to tell us this. It doesn't show respect to us. This is the mandate of the people. We went into an election. The election is a sacrosanct activity. It is not an everyday activity. That is why the EC, against all odds, will be resourced to the extent that they should make no mistake. But aside the mistakes that they made, the infractions, the misassignment of pink sheets that delayed voting up to 10 a.m. and also delayed counting up to 10 p.m. Aside all that, they top it up with a criminal act by going to now fill the collation form to balance with the results that they so-called declared. That renders the whole result null and void.
Is that why your supporters were visibly upset?
The agitation of people out there, and if you call them our supporters, you are getting it wrong. They are constituents of Wage Agbawe. They queued to cast their votes. They were given an opportunity to determine who will lead them in the constituency. And that is what they did. So for somebody to twist their arm and give their mandate to another person, nobody will sit back and then watch that. So they are not here to support anything. They are here to also protest and demand for their rights. I am not aware. I was up there trying to convince the EC lady. But the police are here. So please, we would like to deal with the substance of the matter. Okay, let's deal with the substance of the matter.
So you said they've declared results that to you are null and
We
void.
say,
and after declaration, we know that you have to head to court if you have any challenges with them. Why are you not in court but you are here?
if you understand what I said, I asked the question that if you go to school with a fake certificate and you are caught, what will happen to your admission? It will be revoked. You don't go to court to go and revoke your admission. The school can take
that definitely doesn't apply to the to election, because the elections regulations are different from school admission.
If that doesn't apply to the elections, let the EC lady come and tell us that this grievous criminal administrative breach should go this direction. It is not captured in any part of the CI. Where in the CI has it stated that when an act of criminality, faking and falsifying election results, and confessing to that, where in the CI does it make provision for that?
How many of the polling stations do you have problem with?
It is not a matter of polling stations. They were falsifying results. We will get into the details of polling stations. But if they were falsifying results, there is the collation form upon which they should have declared the winner was not complete, and they declared the winner. What was the basis of declaring the winner? What was the basis of the figures that they mentioned there?
You disagree with the entire result that was declared?
We have stated our position that there was an act of criminality and the election result, so-called declared, did not have any basis, because the basis, which is the collation form, was not completed on that day and it was being filled 4 clear days after the election. You can make your own interpretation from that.
But, Honorable, let me just have a word with you. I have seen the pink sheet coming from the Coalition Center the day after the election, and your representatives did not sign that pink sheet.
Coming from the Coalition Center. We are telling you the people are filling what? The collation forms, and you are saying you've seen it. We've not seen it. Until Thursday morning, we've not seen it. Our agents didn't bring us any what? Collation forms from the coalition.
Would that be because you walked out of the coalition process before it was completed?
It was being filled on what? Wednesday, Thursday. And that is what my election director have told you. Yeah. How do you define vigilance? Define vigilance for me. I'm asking you to define it. I'm nowhere. I'm nowhere.
Did you walk out before the process ended?
I walked out at a point because there are issues with some of the pink sheets. We have pink sheets that has no what designation. You don't have any polling station assigned to it. You don't know the presiding officer that signed that pink sheet. No name of any presiding officer. And at the collation, we are supposed to what? Agree on all these things before what? Collation starts. And Madam Abigail, knowing very well what he has what? Connived with the NPP and they are about to do, walked out of what? The collation room and told us the NDCs that what? If we agreed on something, we should come back. So
Meaning you raised these issues with her and she couldn't provide any justification. What was her exact answer to you when you raised those questions?
Exact answer to me that, oh, if the NDC agrees on something, we should come back. So, yes, truly, she walked out and we also what? Stepped out.
Okay, so what is that thing that you agreed on?
We agreed on what? We didn't agree on anything, and that is why we are telling you that the basis for what? Even the declaration is flawed. Yeah.
Do you have any pink sheets on your own that you can use to contest what the ECs have?
When we get there, you hear from us. Thank you.
For now, what's the next line of action? It seems to me that you haven't had any headway with your discussion with the EC today. What are you doing?
Definitely we'll have a headway. So the discussions have started, and you hear from us. Thank you.
And so you heard the candidate himself for Wejagbawe, for the NDC, as well as the Deputy Regional Director of Elections for the NDC in the Greater Accra region, Raymond Gomez, who spoke earlier before the candidate himself spoke about the actions that they have been taking today here at the EC Greater Accra Regional office here in Accra. He indicates that they made attempts to meet the Electoral Commission's director here in the office here, but has not been successful. I'll take you to the street to see what happened before that negotiation. When we came in, the police were in consultation, some level of consultation with the leadership of the party from the constituency. So this is the entrance of the Electoral Commission where all of the chaos have been happening just some minutes ago. You see up there car tires being bent on the road. But let's start from here where supporters have been pelting stones around. You see stones on the ground, and this is where all of the chaos have been happening. What we've been told is they were at the roadside, the main roadside of the EC headquarters, and they've been throwing all of these items towards the Electoral Commission headquarters, where the police have been maintaining some level of order and security. You see on the ground there wires from bent car tires, which the supporters who are cladded in party colors of the National Democratic Congress have been engaged in the chaos here this afternoon. More of those bent car tires you see on the grounds there, where the police have managed to, sweep most of them off a greater part of the road with their water cannon to the other side of the road. Just some few minutes earlier, we saw some scrap dealers also making business of the situation. They've been here gathering the, wire remains of the car tires. I see the supporters massing up again, approaching the EC entrance of the EC headquarters, regional headquarters. I see leadership of the party who just spoke to us coming back to address them on, I want to presume, what the outcome of their engagement with the Electoral Commission has been. I'll go back to the road to have a final view of what the remains of the items that have been burnt on the road look like. But as we speak, the supporters are currently massing up again. It is unclear what they are massing up for, but I want to presume, because I see the party leadership who spoke to us earlier, including the candidate himself here, I want to presume that he is going to address them on what the outcome of today's negotiations with the Electoral Commission has been. He told us that when they came here earlier in the morning at about 10 a.m., the schedule was to meet the EC director of the director of the Electoral Commission at the Greater Accra region in order to present their petition to her. He said they disagree with the final election results that were declared on the day of the 7th of December 2024 after the election. And so she promised to meet them to receive their petition. But from let's listen to
promise 8 p.m. the same day work petition bahame work petition ahame ni amehan woliake mene 10 o'clock ame baba kona me baha wo eito dwemo ni work ha me unfortunately kaje lebi 10 kabata bia ne wona ake ame ba ame ke message chu commander ake wa ake le enako answer ewo enyene ke answer ko aba wo for that matter kpafai commander un kpafai ake bia ne te wo fi oten wo fe wo ba na twi wo ba ya hia ko ni Animal you more magbena. Animal you. Cho boy. In Kenya on Wednesday, Sholebi man pa wafe wababa. Koni odupa baba ni wakame aba ni waba bia make document ni woke ha me miniji answer na me kba ha wo ke ameke answer ba koni woke ba ha nye ewo ne ke ji wiemo ni wo yue ne ewo won paje fai wo fe wo ya ni name together we are in together and that is the only way we can go.
So you heard the director of election, deputy director of election of the NDC. Let me attempt and see if I can kindly. I mean, he spoke in Ghana, wanted a translation of what you just told the supporters there. What have you been telling them?
Well, I told the supporters that we understand their plight. They've gone to an election and they voted. These are Dominico Abenya, these are Weja Bawe constituency who voted in their constituency to elect their own leader. They believe that what the declaration given them is not reflective of their votes that they gave. And so therefore, they wanted to find solutions. Unfortunately, same people have realized the infractions, the irregularities, and the criminal activities that was caused during the process. And so they are asking the Electoral Commission to annul the results and call for a rerun of their election.
An entire re-election in which,
if they are not able to collect the correct results for this election. They believe that this is their votes have not been properly dealt with because the infractions are too many. And so they have written a whole petition after 4 hours talking with the regional director of the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission has agreed that this morning they will give us a response. Unfortunately, at 10 o'clock, Unfortunately, we came here at 10 o'clock, and this is the results.
When did you submit the petition?
We submitted a petition on Friday evening at 8 p.m. as agreed with her that we would make sure that all that we discussed with her for 4 hours should be put on paper and be submitted to her so that she can give it to the Electoral Commission, J. Mensa.
You mean that you are referring to the Greater Accra Regional Director?
Mrs. Pinkra and her deputy. We sat with them for 4 hours and they listened to us. They saw all the problems that we were telling them and they wanted it on paper. Firstly, we didn't want to, but on second thought, we brought the petition to her. And unfortunately, this morning, 10 o'clock, we are supposed to come and get the results, and she's nowhere to be found. So we find it disrespectful. We find it breach of trust and a breach of good faith that we had in her. By today, after 2 days, she ought to have given us a response.
So you are coming back on Wednesday?
We are asking our supporters, our voters who voted in Wejagbawe, that we will pursue this matter to the latter, and every vote in that constituency shall be counted properly by the processes of the CI 127, and every vote will count. And so our members, our people are asking her to come and give us response on the petition that we have written, or else we have our own next line of action.
If after she ratified whatever you wanted to ratify, and she comes back with the same result in support of the NPP candidate, will you accept that?
We know what we voted for. Bewa Bawe Weja knows what they voted for. And as long as the votes are not counted properly, our support base will not accept anything that is fraudulent, anything that is not correct, and any processes that was not properly adhered to by the law.
So you're coming back Wednesday morning?
Wednesday morning, we are coming back and will lead the team to see the regional election, regional electoral commissioner of the election commissioner, Madam Mrs. Pinkra, to give us a response of the petition that we gave to her. We are coming back on Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock. She used the media. She used a media which is talking to the regional commander to tell us that she is not coming today. We are using the same medium to send a message to her that the regional commander should inform her that on Wednesday we are here to come for our results of the petition we gave to her.
What's your name and who are you to?
My name is Dr. Dismnissed. I'm a member of the Regional Election Directorate of the Greater Accra region.
Okay. Thank you. And so you have a member of the Regional Directorate, Greater Accra Regional Directorate of the elections of the National Democratic Congress. And so they are going back. I'm sure you go back home. You are retreating today.
Yeah.
Going back home.
We will go back and we will come back on Wednesday. Okay. When we come back, we don't go agree.
Okay. Okay. And so the supporters, they agree. Okay, thank you. The supporters, they are agreeing that.
Well, just happening now is the Electoral Commission Regional Office in the Greater Accra region. Happening now, my colleague James Aveji has been there bringing us updates on what's happening with the Wejagbawe constituency with the NDC parliamentary candidates and his petition to the EC. We shall take you to Parliament again, but I still have Dr. Tanko here with me and I want to take your reaction. What will be the NDC's reaction to this?
You see, all this problem is caused by the Electoral Commission. I mean, if you don't feel from C, okay, you cannot declare results. Okay. So on what basis did they declare that one? Because if they are now coming back to feel from C, of which they caught her doing it in the night, and when the questioner said she was now feeling the from C, that is quite interesting, very interesting. How did she arrive at the result?
Mr. Tanko, you have my attention because when Mr. Nimaku was, sharing their challenges with some of the results and the reason why they're asking for re-collation, apart from what they say is some sort of coercion or some sort of duress, is the fact that they said Form 1C and Form 1B.
D. No, it's 1C and 1D.
1C, thank you for the correction,
yes,
and
1C and 1D.
Is what was not provided, which they think that makes their collation not valid.
All the areas we are talking of, we have them. We have the Form 1C and 1D. If you look at Domi Kwabin, I have it. I can really even forward it to you. The Form 1C, which was properly filled, and the Form 1D, which is the summary sheet, which they used to announce the results. Okay. If you look at all the areas, Ablekwanov, if you look at Tema Centra, those forms are there. And so if your agent decides to run away and don't pick it, that one you can't blame anybody. That's why Regulation 48 is very clear. The fact that your agents are not there doesn't invalidate the results. So clearly, we train our people very well. That look, before you exit the collation center, get hold of these two forms. You are going to be given copies of Form 1C and Form 1D. The Form 1C is the collation form. The aggregated numbers of all the polling stations are put in the form. Okay, so you are given a copy, and that will tell you how the results came and how they were added up. Then the totals are teased out and put into the Form 1D, which the returning officer will use to declare the results. So we have it. All the other areas they are talking about is like we have all the Form 1C and then the Form 1D. So this one, the wager one is quite interesting. If you don't fill the Form 1C, how did she arrive at the result? That's what it's so interesting. And I will not be surprised that the party members have to storm there. They're right, because if you don't fill the Form 1C, how did you arrive at the results? And we are doing it secretly in the night. Because when they push that you don't have Form 1C, she's not out to run in and then to come and be doing it secretly, then they caught her. So that is the problem.
I'm certain that on Wednesday we'll get some headway from the EC. But Mr. Tanko, I was hoping to have a longer conversation with you, but my time was not planned very well today, and I promise that we'll have you back in studio, especially this impasse.
Yes, very well. But we just want to put it on record that we are going to resist any move to recollate any of the constituencies which were properly declared by the returning officers. We are not going to accept it. We are following the CI, and we will make sure that we will resist any attempt by the EC to try and recollate any of them. The CI doesn't allow recollation. There's no part of this which says that you can recollate any results. There's nothing like this, and we are not going to accept it.
Thank you. Thank you for talking to us. We'll go for a quick break. We'll be back shortly.